Hey, Vikings, I'm Will Zwerneman, the assistant editor for the Norseman, and I'm here with Bryan High School principal, Mr. Lane Buban. Hi, Mr. Buban.
Howdy.
To talk with him about his time at Bryan High and his upcoming retirement. How you doing, sir? You doing all right?
I'm doing pretty good today.
That's pretty good. All right, let's get started.
All right.
So, just to make sure, everybody knows your background, how long have you been with Bryan ISD, and what different positions and schools have you served at?
All right. So this year's 23 years in Bryan ISD.
Dang.
12 years at Bryan High School, 11 years at Sam Rayburn. I was a teacher, technology specialist, assistant principal, and then principal at Sam Rayburn. And then my first year here at Bryan High was 2013, 14 year. So been here quite a while.
A long time ago for me.
Yeah. I had 3 years prior to that, I was in Channelview ISD.
Oh, that's cool. That's up by Dallas?
Houston, on the east side of Houston.
All right.
Yeah. Off I-10 in Sheldon.
I should know that. I'm a Houston boy.
There you go.
So, so education's your second career, correct? You were in healthcare?
I did. When I graduated from A&M, I took a job at Herman Hospital and worked with heart patients for several years. I ran the inpatient cardiac rehab office on the cardiology floor at Herman, and then also worked across the street in their professional building and worked with outpatients as well.
So why did you switch over to education?
Two of the medical directors that I worked for wanted to have someone who could cross over and come over to the med school to help do research, primarily with after heart events and getting back into exercise and getting back on their feet again. They needed somebody to help with the rehab side, but also actually do some of the research and help with that. So they encouraged me to go get my master's degree. So I went back, got my master's degree in exercise physiology, and then started teaching at A&M as an instructor.
And then you moved down to Rayburn, and then you moved up to Bryan High?
Well, actually, a friend of mine was a business manager in Channelview ISD, and I'd gone down there to eat lunch with him one day and ended up in the human resource office and was offered a job to teach. And so kind of was like, I don't know if I want to do this or not. And eventually that was talking to my graduate advisor, probably the best thing to do if I didn't want to pursue a PhD, which I did not want to do that.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah,
it's a lot of school.
That's a lot of school.
Yeah.
A little bit too much for me. So did your parents' role in education ever have like an influence or effect on you wanting to get back into education after healthcare?
I guess so. Looking back, I have a great grandfather that ran a school. My grandmother was a school teacher. Both my parents were teachers, so I grew up in the school environment. Like it's just kind of what we did all year round. So I honestly didn't want to be a teacher at first. I wanted to do something other than what my parents did, but I kind of ended up in education anyway, even though I tried to stay out of it.
And then, so you were talking about the dark room earlier, where old room where we like printed
photos
and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool how you get to pass that onto the next generation.
Oh yeah, that's something that my dad taught journalism, and it was
Really?
English teacher. Yeah. And so he was in charge of the school newspaper, the yearbook. And so I grew up doing all of those things as a kid. So when I would come over in the afternoons, many times my dad would have the newspaper typed up and printed, or he had his kids get it together and then put it on what was called a mimeograph machine. And I would sit there and roll out the paper by hand. So it was a crank, and so I just sat there and cranked, and helped put out the school newspaper, and then I would help with the yearbook too, because I would help make sure that back then you had to like draw out the pages for your yearbook and then put the photos numbered matching those pages inside the little envelope, and so I used to help do that growing up. So I had a lot of experience with journalism and the yearbook.
Yeah, I'm in journalism and yearbook, and we use basically just straight technology.
Yeah, it's
and
all
printing,
digital now.
Yeah,
but like I was telling you before, where we started this, you're talking about the dark room. Well, that was where you develop the pictures and the film to take the pictures with, and so during the summers, we didn't have access to didn't have access to a dark room at school, so my dad would turn our bathroom into a dark room over the summer. So
Really?
yeah, and so we'd have all these chemicals in the bathroom on the counter, and then all these pictures hanging up in the bathroom. So yeah, it was crazy.
So basically, you were talking about how your parents kind of helped you get into education. You've had 3 of your children plus a bonus kid all attending Bryan ISD schools. How has that impacted your perspective on like being a Viking and like teaching Vikings?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where as a parent, you want the best for your kid, and that goes for their education as well. So from early on, especially when we got to Bryan, I knew my kids were going to go through Bryan ISD schools, and so I always wanted the best for all kids. So if it's going to be good enough for my kids, it better be good enough for everybody else. So that's been my approach as a teacher and as an administrator, to try to make or create an environment at school that my own kids would enjoy and be successful in. And so that's kind of been my approach all throughout my career.
So here's one of the big questions. What are you most proud of at your time at Bryan High?
I think just the relationships that I've built over the years. We've done a lot of good things, and we've had a lot of successes in a lot of different areas. But I think the biggest thing overall is just the relationships that I've built with staff, people that are still here, currently here, and those that have moved on or retired. I've made some really good friendships over the years, and that's really the one thing that, walking away from this, I'm going to miss and I'll cherish the most.
Yeah, that's great. What do you hope your impact or even your legacy is going to be at Bryan High, after you retire?
Well, I hope looking back that, people will look back on it and say, those are some really good years. We're successful. Prior to me being here at Bryan High School, it was really unstable. There were a lot of principals in and out of the building over a short period of time. And I think being here for 12 years has created some stability, and it's created an environment where teachers have a good place to work without being micromanaged or being told what to do all the time. Because I think that, and this has been my approach too, ever since I've become a principal, is so, we all have degrees, we're all professionals. We need to all be treated as such. And so I treat teachers that way. They're professionals. I don't interfere with their classroom. It's their classroom to teach how they want to teach, because everybody's got different personalities and different ways of doing things.
Yeah, you were talking about a revolving door principles came before you came.
Right.
What were your goals when you first started to make sure you weren't the first, just another?
Well, I'll tell you this. My first day in that blue auditorium, I was looking out amongst the staff, and I can see in their faces, how long are you going to be here? And so at that point, I've made it my aim and goal to be here as long as I possibly can, and to create, like I said, an environment where teachers feel comfortable in, that they want to be here and teach, without being in a situation where they're having somebody look over their shoulders and telling them what to do all the time. So.
Yeah. So you said you've been here 23 years now?
In Bryan ISD. I did 11, like I said, at Sam Rayburn, and then I've been here for 12.
How has education just changed?
Things were kind of rocking along up until 2020, March.
We know what happened in March 2020, don't we?
Yeah, we went to spring break and never came back.
I was in 5th grade. I thought it was just going to be maybe 2 more weeks. And then when I heard, I was like, hallelujah.
I think a lot of people were, but I think on the other side of that, for our perspective, we were kind of groaning, thinking this is not good. Not having kids in school and being away from school it's just not a good thing.
Yeah, it was really difficult online and stuff because, people didn't always show up to classes. Some were sick. I get that.
Oh, for sure. Afterwards with the asynchronous attendance, that was not looking back on that, I think we could have done things a little bit differently, a little bit better.
So do you think you've accomplished everything you've set out to be in your first year as a principal? Do you think you've accomplished all your goals, and you think it was a good 23 years?
I would say so. I think that if I didn't, I wouldn't feel as comfortable as I do going into retirement. I think that if that were the case, if I hadn't done the things that I had set out to do in my career, I think I would be a little bit more hesitant and a little bit more unsure about retirement. But I'm pretty sure about this decision. So.
Yeah. So we're going to try to get some insider information out of you right here. Do you think you're going to be part of the processing of the hiring of the next principal?
Up to now, I haven't had any real input or anything to do with the process. I have offered my assistance in transitioning the new principal, and I've given my opinions on I think what they need to look for and what needs to come after me. So, I still will be involved in as much as they allow me to.
What do you want to look for in the next principal?
I think somebody that, is not going to come in and make a lot of major changes. Now, can we improve on different things in the way we do systems and processes on campus? Yeah, absolutely. However, the campus as a whole, I feel like is in a good place. I think academically we need to continue to improve and work on some things. As far as just the overall, behaviors on school, I think those are pretty solid and in check. So I don't think that this campus needs somebody to come in and make any major changes. I think coming in and just evaluating, carrying on what we're doing, and keeping the things that we're doing good in place, and then tweaking some things.
Oh yeah,
from
I
there.
get that. Yeah. So we're in the spring semester now. As it's coming to a close, how are you feeling about retiring?
I'm actually getting more excited about it, just from the standpoint of, and I'm not going to lie, the job's stressful. I mean, day to day, just running a large organization like Bryan High School is, it can be stressful.
2,000 something students?
Just shy of 2,500, and I would say somewhere close to about 300 employees. When you look at teachers, instructional staff, and then you have cafeteria, custodial staff, and then you have your counselors and whatnot, support staff. So, but yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
you're just ready to take off that load and just sit at home and just be like,
at least for a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to sit at home and do nothing for a long time. I think the first couple of months, that's what I intend to do, but I also intend to go back to work and do something different.
So yeah, you think you're going to get back into education?
No, I'm definitely not going back into education. Now, would it be education related? Possibly, but education, getting back into a school building and a classroom, no.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Is there, and this is going to be one of the last questions, is there anything you're going to miss about Bryan High?
Yeah, like I said, I think the people will be the thing that I miss the most. I think that the job, not so much. I enjoy being around kids. I enjoy talking to kids. That's the fun part of the job. And, just being around the staff. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoy the people that I work with. And that's the way it should be. That work should be a place where you can come and enjoy your time at work. It shouldn't be a grind all the time.
Yeah.
Although, our jobs can get to that point, but if you have good people that you're working with, it makes coming to work a whole lot easier. So that's the thing I'm going to miss the most, I think, is just the people.
That's awesome. All right. Yes.
I was waiting for this.
So, as we know, Mr. Nick Scorton, formerly of Texas A&M, is going to probably get drafted in the first round of this year's draft in April.
Yep.
Who do you think is probably going to draft him, and who would you like most to be drafted?
Okay. So the last two teams that look like they are wanting to pick him up. The first one was the Washington Commanders.
Ooh.
And then here recently, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, Super Bowl champs right there.
Yeah, he's watching the mock drafts. Of course, they're just mock drafts, and the people are just guessing at things,
estimating.
Yeah. But he, as far as the place that he may be drafted, it may be late first round.
Yeah.
So the last ones that I checked, some of them were saying the Eagles is the 32nd pick in the draft, first round. So
still first round pick right there.
still first round pick. So we'll see.
Commanders are mid-20s and stuff. So that's what I'm thinking too a little bit. But yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate you here, and good luck on all your future endeavors after Bryan High.
I appreciate it, and good luck to yourself
Thank
and your career and journalism.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
All right.